Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Namaste, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to all of you to the 47th parliamentary session of the World Teen Parliament. We are today going to talk about something superbly interesting, that when you compare an activist with an influencer, who do you think drives more change? And to do this during this 47th parliamentary session, we have two amazing people who have had an amazing journey of their own when they used public domain, public media, and finally became sitting members of parliament. We'll be listening to their opening statements and then taking some of the questions that you've already submitted to us. A little bit of research we also did to ask them some interesting questions. If anyone from you wants to ask them any specific question, make sure that you put that question in the chat. This particular session that you are attending is in a Zoom meeting cum webinar format. Some of the audience you might be able to see, some you might not be able to see. So don't worry, sit back, relax, and enjoy this complete session. We very warmly welcome both our guests today. A very warm welcome to Honorable Mr. Lukas Sieper, the Member of Parliament from the European Parliament from Belgium, and a very warm welcome to Honorable Mr. Luyolo Mphithi, who's currently a Member of Parliament from the Democratic Alliance of South Africa. A very warm welcome to both our guests today. Thank you so much for taking out the time and being here with us for this session. And a very warm welcome to all the teen MPs and influencers at the World Teen Parliament. Also to all the chapter schools of the World Teen Parliament and all the students who have joined from them. A very warm welcome to all the school leaders, teachers, parents, whoever is there on this call. Thank you so much, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you to the 47th parliamentary session. Now, to initiate this session, let me invite the first speaker for today, who will set the ball rolling. And, let's first try to know a little bit about them before we invite them, so that, we are all ready and warmed up for this session. Let me invite the first speaker for today. A very warm welcome to Mr. Honorable Lukas Sieper, who's known as the starter politician. He's a 28-year-old, youngest in a parliament where the average age is 55. He founded his own political party like a democracy startup, got elected with just 0.6% of national votes, built a TikTok plus Instagram base that's bigger than most mainstream media, and interestingly was arrested for climate protest, and is known, very well by his own constituency and people around for gluing himself to a corporate headquarters gate. And now he currently sits in the system once he protested against. So what's his experience? What does he feel? That is activism more rewarding or being an influencer more rewarding? And what's his take on the topic? And whatever I said, is there something that he would want to add? Any story, any anecdote? And I would specifically want to know from him, what was he feeling when he tried to glue himself to a gate, and what was going on in his mind, and how did that he arrive onto that decision to typically do that? Because that makes a very loud statement. So let's listen to him. A very warm welcome to you to the 47th parliamentary session. A very warm welcome to Honorable Mr. Lukas Sieper, the Member of Parliament from the European Parliament. So over to you. Please unmute yourself for your opening
Yes,
address.
thank you very much for your introduction, and a very warm welcome to everyone here from Belgium, which is the home that I elected. Basically, I was born and raised and voted into office in Germany, but now I live in Belgium, in Brussels, the European Parliament. And yeah, I think as you took from the opening introduction of myself, sometimes you have to take quite drastic measures in a system that is bogged down by years and years of tradition. And still, you can achieve something if you show enough respect. So it's a thin line between constructive activism and destructive activism, if you ask me. It is a real honor to join you today, and let me begin by sharing another personal story. When I first arrived in the European Parliament, as one of its youngest members, I felt exactly like many of you feel now, full of ideas, slightly terrified, and wondering whether one of the youngest person can truly influence something as enormous as global politics. And very quickly, I learned what it truly means to be a representative. It is not about status or attention, even though you need a lot of attention to actually achieve something. It's about carrying the responsibilities, hopes, and fears of millions of people. In my situation, we're talking about 450 million people. It's about turning their struggles into politics and their dreams into laws that protect their dignity and their individual freedom. And I think this is where you come in, because your generation, our generation is different. We are the most connected generation humanity has ever seen. We can mobilize thousands with a message, change an entire narrative with a single video, and create movements that cross borders, cultures, and cultures faster than any institution can follow. And so, to the main question, who has more influence today, activists or influencers? I think the truth is it depends on what you do with your platform. An influencer with tens of millions of followers who says nothing meaningful has less impact than an activist with 10 friends who refuse to stay silent. But when activism and influence come together, when someone uses visibility to serve truth, compassion, and justice, that is when real, unstoppable change begins. And when the power you already hold means something. Of course, even the most need support, and this is how, at least in Europe, there are real structures supporting this, like the Erasmus Plus or the European Solidarity Corps, but also for where things like here, the International Youth Parliament comes in. Yeah, so everything that facilitated youth exchanges, digital volunteering, networks, and guides, and in politics can be of help here. And when you get older, when you're finished with your first steps of your education, I can highly advocate for seeking some working experience. European institution, the most famous one is the Schumann traineeship, or a traineeship at the European Parliament, for example, in my office. That can be a stepping stone for you to get to know institutionalized politics and change the world. And of course, if you need direction in your ideas, in your activism or future path, you can always reach out, not only to my office, but to youth organizations, to global civil society networks. Politics may seem distant sometimes, and many people think they cannot be important, yeah? But politics opens the moment you knock the door. So be bold in you reaching out to people. So, what do I expect from you? I expect you to defend truth in an age where lies spread faster than facts. I expect you to defend dignity, especially when hatred becomes fashionable, to protect the values of democracy, not because it's perfect, but it's because it's the only system that gives us a voice every day, every one of us. And I expect you to trust in the power you already have, the power to imagine a better world without fear or cynicism. Of course, for expecting something, I can also offer you something: connection, conversation, access. I cannot, I can in individual cases hand out personal internships, and the main thing is I can open doors to information, to debates, to networks that turn ideas into action. And if you work on democracy, digital rights, equality, human rights, or climate, I am very, very well capable and willing to connect you to people who can support your vision. Let me end with this. Every major moment in history for peace, equality, and freedom was started not by governments, but by young people who believed the world can be different. You are those people now. So keep imagining, keep speaking, keep building, because the world needs your courage more than ever. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mr. Lukas Sieper, for that amazing start to the 47th Parliamentary session. And yes, what you said is very right. You have to keep speaking up. You have to keep conversing. If you stop speaking, if you stop defending yourself, you might not have democracy anymore in the world. The only reason we have democracy, the only reason we have voice is because we have the capability to make noise. You have to understand the difference between these two words of noise and voice. People, when they give you access, it's your voice. But if you when you have to make a political bold statement, you need to make a lot of noise. Now, how do you do it? Whether you do it by gluing yourself to a main gate or doing something more interesting is what matters. Keep ideating. The blend of activism and influence can take you places. Thank you so much, Mr. Lucas. It was an amazing start to the session. Let me now invite our next guest for today to add his opening address to the 47th parliamentary session. He's somebody who's went from student activism to party youth leader, represents Johannesburg, where the median age of in his constituency is 27, uses social media to influence and expose injustice, push debates nationally, and one very interesting thing about it, he once sparked a national outrage from a single tweet. Now he's part of the government of now part of the government of national unity. He is somebody who not only knows how to legislate, he also knows how to mobilize, how to bring people together on an issue, and how do you make that issue a national issue by using influence, activism, your own dynamism. Let's invite and let's hear to the Honorable MP Luyolo Mphithi, who's current Member of Parliament from South Africa. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us. Over to you for your opening statement for this parliamentary session.
Thank you so much for, inviting me to speak to young people. I think it's such an honor to speak to young people because, you're speaking to people who are literally going to change the world in the next couple of years. So I'm very excited to be here. And thank you for the introduction and also greetings to Lucas as well. Very inspiring opening that he did. Truly, truly amazing. With that said, I just want to say, yes, my name is Luyolo Mphithi. I am 33 years old right now. And, I never thought I would be 33 years old because I considered that very old when I was still younger. So now I'm 33 and I'm like, oh my God, it's hectic. But yeah, I'm serving my second term in the South African Parliament. And I really got into politics as a very young person by simply asking a question of not really understanding why my community did not have a road, did not have a toilet, did not have a running water, and not understanding why this was the reality of the community that I was living with. Whilst, in other areas, people had those basic amenities, basic things like electricity in your house when you switch on the light, running water to drink, being able to flush toilet in your home. And I didn't have that, and I was concerned about why that wasn't the case. And so I got involved in politics because of dignity. Dignity is something that was, from a young age, consistently concerned about because I did not see dignity around me. I did not see dignity in my community. I did not see dignity in my own family. And one of the things that really got me engaged in politics was um, as a young person living in a room with my grandmother and my mother, one room, right? And thinking to myself, does it make sense? Or where is the dignity that my grandmother can bath in the same room that I was in? Where was her dignity? And so that particular moment really struck me because I asked myself, why does she not have that dignity? So I got in politics because of dignity. And my fight is about dignity because everybody in South Africa deserves the basics, deserves to have water in their tap, deserves to have electricity in their house, deserves to have quality education, deserves when they're sick to go to a hospital that will take care of them and make sure that they are healed from their sickness, deserves to have roads. And so that is the dignity that I fight for each and every day. And so um, I believe as young people across the world, we have such an incredible opportunity to shape the country that we want and to not sit back and simply allow the narratives that have gone on for far too long to continue. We all have the responsibility to stand as a beacon in our communities and to fight for our communities and to ensure that they also experience the dignity that many others experience. And so it can never be okay when a young person is not able to go to school. Can never be okay when a young person only has gang violence, drugs in their community, and has no other option to make it out. So that is what we fight for. That is the dignity that we need for young people across the world, not only in South Africa. And those voices and that struggle can only be vocalized by young people who are living those particular realities. And so, as a young person, that was my fight. It continues to be my fight. Um, when I joined Parliament, it was 6 years ago. And I'm happy to say today there is a tap in my community. I'm happy to say today there is electricity in my community. We don't have a road yet, but we're working to it. And so these are the realities that we fight for and we try to get because we all deserve dignity. It's not for some, it's for all of us. We have to fight for it and we cannot give up on it. And when others are weak, we have to be strong and be their voices. And so that's how I see my role as a member of parliament in South Africa. I continue to fight for those particular issues. And I believe in this session, I'm so excited to hear some of your lived experiences and your views on life. Because as Lucas correctly said, we are the most connected generation we've ever had. We've got WhatsApp, we've got X. There's so many different social media platforms that we are able to actually advocate and fight for people and be able to raise issues. All it takes is picking up your phone and standing outside, a hospital and saying, this is what's going on behind me. This can't be right. And immediately so much can change just by doing that one thing. That's all it takes. And so I think it's an incredible opportunity that we have as young people. And I think it's an incredible opportunity if you want to get into politics and want to be active. It never is about getting into politics for, as Lucas correctly pointed out, for status. Politics is not easy. It is a very difficult job. You don't see your family. I'm from Johannesburg, but I spend most of my time in Cape Town. You don't see your family. It's a fight. And so I'm incredibly glad that I can share a bit of South Africa, which many people don't know that much. But I'm glad that I can share that because those realities are not realities that are only in South Africa. We all have different challenges that we're fighting for, and the need to give democracy not only in word but in action. When we say democracy, it's not only about words. We're talking about does that person's voice, which they use through the ballot box, does that person's voice translate? Does that democracy translate into freedom? Does it translate into rule of law? Does it translate into basic services? Does it translate to human rights? And if it doesn't, then there is no democracy. And so we continue to fight for democracy because democracy is only as good as today. You have to continue to fight for democracy. It's something that you fight for every day. And so, with that said, I don't want to talk too much because I'm so excited to hear what all of you have to say and listen to your questions and also learn a lot from you guys because I think we always gain so much knowledge from young people and engaging with young people and hearing the different ideas because it truly, truly is an amazing space and a space that I very much honor and respect and give it the due that it requires. So with that said, let me hand back over to our program director and thank you to each and every one of you. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable MP. Uh, you know, a lot of teenagers submitted us so many questions today that they wanted to ask you those questions. We have crystallized some of them into short and interesting questions. So the next question that we have for you from some of the teens here that comes from the chapter schools of the World Teen Parliament is for Mr. Lukas Sieper. Teens have asked us a question that you're known as the startup politician. So when you built your own political party from scratch, do you look at it as a process of activism, or you look at it as just influence happening at scale? What is it? Is it really activism that's, turning into a political movement, or you think the major role goes to the influence that you had through TikTok?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. Yes. So for me, it was really like activism, because back in the day, the following was quite small, and not even a certain activism in regards to a certain topic, but really what also my dear colleague from South Africa said, the idea to defend democracy every day, because the work is never done. That's the core thing. And so I started to think, okay, if you really want to change the world, you have to get into the system, and form a party, because activism can only always be the first step, at least in the democratic system that we have right now in Germany and in Europe.
So it starts with activism, needs a lot of influence, and you blend both of them together, a political party is
Yeah.
born. What you can say is a political startup comes for the people. And it's a continuous process to, work towards democracy and keeping it alive. A lot of teens, when we do these voting debates, when we hear their opinions, some of them have very strong opinions and they think that democracy is broken. It does not work. And they think that, if we have a dictatorial form of a government, the decision making will be quick and the change will happen even quicker. Do you agree to this thought process, or you think this is something that comes out of inexperience?
So it's a classical argument, right? And just let me say this. Of course, a dictatorship is more efficient in decision making. Of course, because it's a smaller group of people, leading up to one person, maybe making the decision. But the quality of the decision is what matters. And if you narrow down the thought process to a small group of people, you will only have so many perspectives. And also, these people will get very fast, will get used to their power, and will only see their own perspective more and more. So the price that we have to pay for democracy is that it's more complex, and it's sometimes slower, and it's complicated. But for that, we get a way more just and free society where all the voices are heard. The price for dictatorship is that dissent has to be punished and has to be beaten down, because one thing is for sure: you cannot take dissent away from human nature. I'm German, yeah, and we German, we once had the ultimate fascist dictatorship, where the government tried really, really hard to bring all the people to one opinion and one philosophy, and still there was dissent. No matter how hard you try to unify a system, people will always have differing opinions, because this is in our human nature. And so a dictatorship or autocracy is not compatible with the natural state of human beings, but democracy is, and that's why it's the better system.
Thank you so much for saying that out loud, because it matters a lot when it comes from the horse's mouth. When somebody who's in policy making, who comes from Germany, and when you hear such a person say that, autocracy could be efficient, but qualitatively it's pathetic. So do you really want
Yeah.
that for yourself as a teenager who hasn't experienced it, who has not seen in their surroundings? How do you concur as teens? You can tell us that in the comments. I would want to pose the same question to the other guest as well, to Mr. Luyolo. What do you think? A lot of, because the reason I'm asking this question is we work in nearly 35 to 40 countries. And we work with more than 100 members of parliament across these countries. And they all have stated that in each of these countries, the voter registration is going down. The younger
Yeah.
generation does not go out and even register themselves to vote. That's why I'm posing this question, because this is something superbly critical and very important for the future voter. So, what do you think, Mr. Luyolo, that, is democracy broken? Do we want autocracy to, replace democracy?
Look, I'll start off by saying that I always say, and it's a saying that I think rings true in this particular argument, is that I might not like what you say, but I'll defend your right to say it. That is democracy. That is liberalism. That is the core of democracy, is being able to disagree and disagree strongly. And so I don't think the holding of a particular view is either right or wrong. I think as long as you have the right to say it, in a democracy, we must always defend that particular right. What I can say, and I'll speak in instances where dictatorships have existed, and South Africa has a very similar history, where dictatorship has not turned out to be the greatest. Because if you know South African history, South Africa went through a racist, oppressive regime that targeted people of color, that targeted the majority of Black South Africans in our country. And it was done through dictatorship, done through a parliament that rejected the majority of South Africans and the access to be able to vote for a government that they wanted. And in that instance, there was no development for the majority of people in the country. In that instance, there was no fast tracking of decision making and actual outcomes that were positive for the population. In fact, it was the opposite because it led to an oppressive regime that dehumanized many people, that killed many people, and that left a country incredibly broken. And 30 years later, we still have to deal with the after effects of that particular regime. So I would just say that I think it is very different to be in a country that has gone through that particular regime in a very recent history, because apartheid was just 30 years ago for us in South Africa, right? Most countries have experienced dictatorships, but some of them go back quite a long time. And so I can just say that I think it's very interesting to have these debates because that is part of being able to shape your mind is to look at different arguments and make those points for yourself. It is indeed true that young people are not voting across the world, and that's the case in South Africa. But the question is, are young people not voting because they simply don't care about politics, or they just want a new way of doing something? Now, if democracy is seen to not work, then it means that we need to innovate democracy and find a way that it starts to work for us. And I honestly don't think a dictatorship in my purview is the right way to go.
Thank you so much. And I think a very important point that you mentioned, that is the new political scenario being innovative? Are the new political entrants being innovative? And at this point, I would want to bring in Mr. Lucas to ask him a question. He, as an individual, and as his party politics really looks like, he has typically rejected the traditional left versus right spectrum. He sits
Yes.
somewhere in the middle where he does not say that, whether I'll advocate for X or I'll advocate for Y. He does not, typically believe in that Democrat and Republican sort of a system. He does not think the left and right approach is right. He's trying to do something where he's trying to carve a niche out of his own constituents. Now, how does it play out for you? Is it really helping? Do you see the electorate understanding your stand, or is it difficult? How has your experience being with this? Because this in itself is an innovation in politics. Over to you.
I think innovation always comes at its cost, right? That's something you have to say, but that should not refrain you from doing it. So our position to be democratic pragmatists, who do not follow a certain ideology within the democratic spectrum, and we do not want to work with people outside of the democratic spectrum, but inside we are pragmatists. This, of course, makes our work maybe even more complicated for many people to understand, and also for ourselves. And it took some time, definitely, to get there, but we are slowly getting there. And now people understand that this is actually what they feel, because the majority of people do not want to only have opinions from this camp or this camp or this camp. And they especially do not want this entrenched politics where one side automatically disagrees on what the other side says just because the other side said it, right? And so the more people get to know about us, and the more time they spend thinking about our approach, we saw the more support we are actually getting.
Thank you so much for enlightening on this. At this point, I would want to ask our second speaker. You, in the initial address, you talked about the inability of bringing dignity to every single citizen. You talked about the access that they don't have. Now you are somebody who's sitting in power. What is it that you do that people who are in that scenario that you left behind, their voice reaches a parliamentary debate? Do you have you made a system for this so that that voice from the grassroots really reaches you and reaches the tables of your own parliament? Is there a system that you've developed for this? Or are you doing something in this direction?
Yeah, 100%. In South Africa, we have a constituency-based system. So every member of parliament has a constituency across the country. And so, through our constituency offices, we meet with our community and the public, and we're able to, on Mondays, which is our constituency days, where we're in our constituency, to be able to speak to our community and be able to deal with the issues that they want us to raise. But I just want to say something that I've realized being in Parliament. Parliament at times is very far away from the people. And I think people need to really understand that. You know, the the work can be slow, the change can be slow, the distance between yourself and the community can be vast, and it can be incredibly easy to lose track of why you are there. And so it is fundamentally important, I think, for us to also be honest about that, and to really be real about that, because you're in Parliament about 3 to 4 days, away from your community. So most of your time you're spending in Parliament. You're not in your community. You're not there every day dealing with the issues of whether it's violence, whether it's a lack of water, electricity, you know. So you are far away from those things. And also in South Africa, we have three spheres of government. We have local government, we have provincial government, we have national government. And so um, some of these issues that come up in our communities are not issues that you can pick up a call and say, hey, listen, this street does not have electricity, or, this community does not have water, because you are so far away from that particular sphere of government. So I think I just wanted to make that note, because I think um, when you get to Parliament, and this was my experience, there's a lot of older people, and there's nothing wrong with older people. Please get me right. We love them. We care about them. But
Well,
they're just not doing the work that needs to be done. And I think it's so easy to get to a space where you can feel like Parliament is like a retirement village. And you're like, everybody's here to retire. And you're like, but I need things to change right now. And, like, why are things like this? And, it's so easy to be frustrated. And I think you have to consistently fight with yourself to never, never be part of that. I never want to be part of that. I never want to be part of the slowing down and like not caring and like this is just how things are. I hate that. I don't want to be part of that. I want to continue to fight, continue to be active and not let the bureaucracy slow me down, not let the red tape slow me down. Because if you do allow it, it will. And before you know it, you are part of the retirement village. So it's a difficult thing. And so I would say that in closing, uh, it's very important to remain deep in your community, to remain embedded in your community, and to be held accountable by your community. The moment those three things don't exist anymore, I'm telling you, you are gone and you are like there living the life and enjoying yourself. You have to be connected to your community. You have to be accountable. And the culture of accountability is so easy to speak about as a language because when we walk in rooms, it sounds so easy to be like accountability, transparency, and we're saying all the right things, but we're not doing the right things. And so the language becomes a problem because we know how to fit into a space because we got the language, but we actually don't live the language, which is like something that, your community makes sure that you live the language. That's the most important thing.
I think somewhere even Mr. Lucas resonated with your idea of that retirement village. So is it the same experience for the youngest MP in EU as well? Or what's your experience been?
I mean, I think I can definitely resonate what my dear colleague said, that you have to watch out not to be sucked into the system and those old structures that you want to change, um, because it's easy to forget that you are far away from the public. For me, it's even harder because as a member of the European Parliament, I ran on a federal list. So my constituency is all of Germany. I don't have a single region or a single city or a single village that I represent in Germany, but all of Germany at the same time. And this leaves me to a situation where I'm quite far away from the people. And then, of course, also this life comes with a lot of advantages that normal people never have. For example, being driven in a limousine every day. That's something that slowly chips away from your what's the word? I think humility in English. Yeah, that you don't pride yourself too much. Yeah. And you're meeting all the people that you only know from TV and news shows before. So that's all somewhere we want too much against old people. I think to make this difference and to keep yourself in check, that's something from my experience where the younger politicians are way better than the older politicians. The older politicians have a tendency to see themselves as part of a political class that is detached from the normal people. The younger politicians understand more that this very understanding of the many older people is polluting democracy.
Absolutely. So I think it typically embodies the statement that every luxury becomes a necessity. It typically detaches you from the kind of challenge that you faced, that gave you the initial data set to understand what is the requirement that you're trying to meet for your constituents. So, teens, when you're here on this
Exactly.
call, and when you get this opportunity to interact with policymakers who have seen this journey, who are very near to your age, getting disconnected from people around you, from communities around you, is very easy. So if you really want, to be in a position of leadership, figure out a way to be connected and superbly connected. So your source of news or source of data or understanding of people is just not a media house or a news portal. It should be far more than that. So keeping your opinion away from perceptions is a challenge for a politician. So now it's time to ask some of the questions from the teens. I would like to invite Madhav Taneja. Madhav, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and ask your question. Madhav, over to you.
Hello, good evening. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah,
Yeah. Hi, sir. My name is Madhav Suneja. I'm from Karnal, Haryana. My question to you is, how do you distinguish between activism born from conviction and activism used mainly as a tool for online visibility?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? I didn't understand. The connection is a bit bad.
I'll
Okay.
repeat the question from for Madhav. The question he is asking is how do you differentiate between activism that's born from conviction and activism that's only being used as a tool for online visibility or virality?
That's a terrific question. I know maybe my colleague wants to go first, or shall I? How does it work?
Mr. Luyolo, would you also want to add something in this respect?
Yeah, look, I completely agree with Lucas. This is a terrific question. Really, it's actually a very difficult question, actually. Um, but I think we have to also we have to face the facts. People want to go viral. People want to get their videos to hit those views. People want to reach those numbers. They want to get, millions of views. They want to get millions of followers. So that is the case, right? I think it has to really go with what is one trying to achieve, because there's nothing wrong in my eyes to want to create a platform in order to raise issues so that it can reach as many people as possible. I see nothing wrong with that, because when you are driving an issue, whatever issue it may be, perhaps there's an issue with a school or an issue with something in your community, right? You want that particular issue to go all the way. So you want the million views, you want the followers, so that you can raise these issues, right? So how do you differentiate between someone who's doing it genuinely and someone who is not? I think it's a difficult one to say, because everybody is at risk of doing it for the wrong reasons. And I think if you start understanding that as the foundation of the question, that there is no person who is an angel, in the space of doing something. Everybody's at risk of doing it for themselves. I think that is just the bottom line. So the question is, what happens after that? So if you operate from a place that you even yourself can be at risk of just doing it for wanting to get a million followers, wanting to get a million views, wanting to get the attention on yourself, and wanting to go viral all the time. The moment that you tap into that, you then become the person that you don't want to become. So all of us are at risk of it. And there will be times where we step into it. There'll be times where we realize it and step back. And so you always have to check yourself and be like, how am I moving now? Am I trying to get on TV because I just want to get people to see me? Or am I trying to raise an issue? Genuinely so, for the people that matter, for the people that I'm fighting for the people that need things to change? Or is it just simply about me? Right? And so it's like a tango into, if I can, for lack of a better term, a tango into the realm of self-gratification, or the tango into the realm of actually raising issues for a genuine cause. So everybody's at risk of it, but you have to continuously check yourself. That is the only way that it remains genuine.
I would maybe even extend this in my personal opinion. The only question should be, do you do good things? Is your activism a net positive for the world? And if you objectively are doing good things, in my personal opinion, your motivation for that doesn't really matter. I give you an example, like I, as a member of the European Parliament, I have a salary that is 4 times to 5 times the average salary of the people in Germany, at least. And this is so it's a very, very good salary. And of course, I didn't do it for the salary. I didn't spend my time becoming a member of parliament for the salary. But if I would have a colleague that only did this and only went to parliament because he wants to have a high salary, but then works like a real workhorse and does good things and goes to all the meetings and is holding good speeches and is giving room to activists. But every time he goes home after each day and says to himself, oh, I just do it for the money, I don't care. As long as the work is good, as long as the people use their power to achieve good, the motivation is completely irrelevant. The only thing is that when the people do not have the right motivation, when they are only doing it for themselves, normally they do not do good work. So when you have a feeling that someone has not the right motivation, this should not automatically for you be a reason to denounce them, but it should be a reason to reflect on their objective work and ask yourself if what they are doing is actually good.
So I would actually want to add something, or rather ask you a question. When you did that gluing yourself to the gate thing, what percentage of you wanted the virality and what percentage of you wanted the change to happen? What was going on in your mind? How were you, controlling your intentions or keeping your intentions on the right track?
So I have to say one thing here, because I do not want to go further down this road, and I didn't answer to that in the beginning. I was the guy who climbed phone booths and hold speeches. The gluing to the gate was a colleague of mine, but I think that's what happens with researching in modern age. But it goes down the same thing, yeah. So I did crazy stuff in public for my political career. I did stuff that people would consider public disturbance, yes, to achieve it. For me, it was actually my thought process is that I wanted to get to the political arena, and I knew that I have to strip myself of the possibility to feel embarrassed, because that's the thing. Whenever you're in public as a politician, then you always have a lot of people looking at you when you're doing speeches. So you have to become into a mental state where the attention of people stops making you nervous. And that's why I did the crazy stuff in public that I did, to embarrass myself so much that embarrassment ceases to exist within me for my political career to actually kick off.
I think this is something that all the teens here can remember, because when you're a teenager, you're most afraid of being embarrassed. And
Yeah.
when you want to be in a leadership position, you have to make yourself so embarrassed that embarrassment doesn't stay there anymore. It's an important takeaway. Don't get embarrassed with, your dress up, your looks, anything. Be confident in
Yeah.
yourself. That's what
Exactly.
teenagers face a lot in all of the countries. And it's a major reason for their stress. So if you're a teen and if you're here, don't get embarrassed. Just have a relaxed life and be confident on yourself. So
Or train yourself not to be embarrassed. Huh? It's a process.
Yeah.
training yourself to be not to be embarrassed is something that's important. So the next question comes from Sanika Arya. Sanika, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and ask your question.
Hello, my name is Sanika Arya. I study in Indian Language School, Lagos, Nigeria. My question can be directed to either one of our guests. Clearly, it takes tremendous courage to step forward and fight for change. Was there any instance where you doubted yourself? And if so, how did you overcome it?
For me, every single day still.
Me
So
too.
that never goes away. And it's a hard decision, right? Because you also could just get a job and go to work and make your money and go home, right? To go down the easy path. You should, I think should take this doubt and transform it into something that gives you motivation, because every single person in the world doubts themselves all the time. And this is the thing about politics. We are working with people. We are working with emotions. So just accept this as a way of life. The way that also to build on the question that I answered before, talking about embarrassment, I'm also still a little bit have the fear of embarrass myself whenever I'm holding a speech. So just take this, breathe in, breathe out, and then go forward fighting for change.
We would also love to hear the thoughts of Mr. Luyolo on this. That what's this experience with you?
Yeah, look, I mean, this is such an interesting conversation. Obviously, I agree with what Lucas is saying. I feel, every day it's like a constant battle because, you'll stay up at night and be like, have I done enough? Am I doing enough? Am I helping people enough? Could I have done something better? Could I have maybe followed up something much better than I did? Or, am I available? So it's a constant thing of doubt, right? And what I can also say is that when I was growing up as a teenager, in my family, no one expected me to be the member of parliament, right? No one saw that happening because there was, always someone else in the family who was maybe more smarter, and their career or their life seemed like they were going to be, the great person or the person that was going to be make everybody proud. So I was never that guy. I was just the person that everybody thought to be, a normal person in life, and so I think that also shows me a lot about humility, and to move in a way in which you accept and embrace self-doubt, right? Because that will keep you humble. It will keep you not arrogant. It will keep you on course on the journey, because to serve is to serve the people. It's to serve the people. That is what we do. And you have to do it with humility, right? And so, yes, as a young person, of course, I'm still young. And I want to be young. So I also will do my young things. But I keep the main thing, which is service. And it's those moments where I ask myself, have I done enough, that allows me to keep on pushing further and much, much better than I've done. So it keeps me going. And I know if I ever become comfortable with you've done enough is when I have not done enough. So I like this feeling and I embrace it all the time. I wanted to say something about embarrassment that Lucas was speaking about because it's such an important thing. But I'll park it and I'll say it when we continue the conversation.
The next question comes from Kinley Youngden. Kinley, please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and ask your question. Kinley, we're not able to hear you. I think your audio is not connected. No worries. I'll place your question. We have sent your question, so let me ask your question for you. What Kinley has asked is, do you believe it's a question that is directed towards Mr. Lucas, but I think we can have the opinion of both the leaders on this. That do you believe influencers who use their platforms for social causes should be held to the same standards of transparency and accountability as activists and NGOs in your respective countries?
That's a tricky question. I think yes, but then you really have to legislatively draw a very clear line on which influencer falls into that, because you cannot compare an NGO like Amnesty International with an influencer that has 5,000 views, a micro influencer, 5,000 followers. But also you cannot compare a small NGO with 10 workers, which has to make tax declarations, with an influencer with 200,000 followers. So I think this is more a question that we have to ask ourselves in the digital realm fully when it comes to fact checking and transparency, which I personally would more focus actually on the companies running the platforms in the digital realm and less the actors on those platforms.
Yeah, look, I'm not a fan of overregulation and overregulating any form of industry or sector. I just don't believe in that. However, what I will say, and I'll just give a quick example of what happened in South Africa recently, where we had a number of influencers with millions of followers who were advertising jobs in Russia, for example, and not knowing that they were actually advertising human trafficking. And they didn't know, to their defense, but they did not fact check. They didn't fact check the facts. And so, it was a very good story. And, had this conversation about, to what extent should influencers be held to account for their actions. And so I do think it's a conversation that requires more attention. Though I'm not a fan of over-regulating certain aspects, I think I would want to be very careful in that particular space, because I think I'm a liberal, and so I believe in freedom, and I believe in freedom of speech, freedom of choice, and so I would be very careful about trying to find, or creating laws that would want to regulate influences. But I do think it's a conversation that requires attention, and perhaps it's something that one would have to really think about. And I would honestly say I don't think I know a lot right now to actually answer that question.
Maybe one thing to add on that, one part of the topic that I see is many influencers are propped up by foreign actors, right? In Europe, we have a lot of influencers where we know that their followership, really like the followers on their accounts, the people commenting on those accounts. So basically the people giving the clout to the account, and then which then leads to more real clout, are supported and funded by Russian bot farms. And I know that in Asia and in Africa, we have a lot of Chinese bot farms supporting certain voices and political actors. So I think that's something where we really should tackle, is when we have the feeling that a certain influencer is supported by a foreign actor pushing interests that are not represented in the society that this influencer belongs to. But apart from that, I will agree with my colleague. The moment you start to regulate influences is the moment that a lot of personal freedom goes AWOL.
A very important point that you brought forward, that it's always a fight between national interests and the freedom of speech. It's something that's very difficult to regulate. If you try not to regulate it, there are different kind of challenges that crop up. Today's session was supposed to happen in the format of a voting debate. We also had a lot of teenagers to speak, but the challenge was they gave in so good questions that we wanted to ask you those questions. So we tweaked the format a little. We have completed the time that we asked from you. So now it's time to take your closing statements for today's parliamentary session. Any thought that you would like to leave with the World Teen Parliament, and how should the World Teen Parliament remember you? And what should the teenagers be looking forward to? As the Teen Parliament, our simple focus is creating a bridge where the future generation gets to meet the current policymakers. You'll be happy to know that we are currently the only platform in the world where every month sitting members of parliament from multiple countries come to teach teenagers. Every month, we host masterclasses, and leaders from multiple countries come and teach them the skills that they have acquired through their struggles. As a politician, we respect your skills. You have, learned some capabilities that cannot be taught. but for sharing your experience. We're very thankful to you. Let's hear your closing statements for the 47th Parliamentary session. Over to Mr. Luyolo Mphithi, the Member of Parliament from South Africa, for giving his closing statement for this 47th Parliamentary session. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, firstly, I just want to say this is an incredible platform. I didn't know about it, but I think it's such an incredible platform, and I just want to give a big ups to the people behind the scenes who have put this together. It's such an important work that you're doing. So I just wanted to say that. But I think to everybody on this Zoom, um, and I'll bring in what I wanted to say earlier about embarrassment, because I think it's such an important point. Um, don't let fear hold you back. Stand in your truth, be grounded, and let the fight continue for what you believe in and what you believe is not existing in your community. You might not be the best speaker. You might not be the most put together politician. You might not be confident in yourself, but you know what? Your voice matters. And no matter how soft and no matter how loud it is, it matters. And that's the first thing that you need to do. So in your country, where you are, there's probably politicians that you see and you see certain attributes that they have. They're really good at this and that and that. You don't have to be like that. You can just be you. And I'm telling you, you is enough. That's what I've learned in my political journey. So I truly hope that with all of you, whatever you decide to go into, whether it's politics, whether it's the private sector, or whatever it be, I would just simply say that never forget the power of your voice, because everybody deserves to hear it. And it starts with an issue sometimes. It doesn't even have to be big. And it starts with just wanting to change one thing. And before you know it, you have people behind you and standing with you and saying, we are going to fight for this road. We are going to fight for this toilet in our community. We are going to fight for this tap in our community. And I have never been the best speaker or the most incredible in politics. All I had was just wanting to change one thing. And I think that was enough. And so I am truly humbled to speak with you guys, and I really hope that in the near future we'll be hearing some of the names that I see on my screen making incredible changes in their politic, in their own countries. And always remember that when you are young, you are the most uh, idea-driven person. You have the best ideas, because let me tell you, the old people, they're okay with how things are. That's why things will not change. So us, we are not. We look at something and be like, but why is that like that? Like why do we have to do things like this? And we question and we ask and we interrogate and we negotiate. And that's how we change society. That's the only way. Because if we just leave it, we're gonna stay with the same problems, because these guys are happy. They're happy. They've made their money. They live in nice houses. They enjoy, to drive to work and come back home. Like, it's normal for them, but it's not normal for me. So this time, this moment, we are engaged in conversations where we are thinking and interrogating and critiquing. These are the moments that will be your tools to change the systems in your country. So I am incredibly honored, and I want to also say thank you to Lukas as well. I've learned a lot from
Thank
him
you.
and from what he shared. So thank you, everybody. Over to you, Lukas.
Thank you, Luyolo. And I can only build on what you said. And I will start with one recommendation that I can make you, only also building what Luyolo said in the beginning. If you want to get into politics, if you really want to start with a political career, start with issues that you can see in your everyday life. Luyolo, you talked in the beginning about the fact that your commune didn't have good water and electricity. And For me, it was a big problem of homelessness in my city, in Cologne. A lot of homeless people. So that's where I started to do a charity for homeless people and talk with the city council about this. And why is this useful? Because the hardest thing in politics later down the line is that you cannot see and feel often the results of your work. It's not like you are in business where you produce a product and then you can go to your production facility and you can take the product in your hand, or you see a certain number of money on a bank account where you know, okay, this comes from. And this in politics, it's an incredibly long process to do legislation, and even if you pass legislation, you have this one moment where it passes in the parliament or the committee or whatever, and then you have to go out of your way to travel to a region years later to see if really, for example, these new water pipes have been built in accordance with this law, or the number of homeless people has decreased. So it's all in the end, when you are really in politics, the hard part is to keep going, even though the results are not seen and felt every day. So that's why you should start easy and start with something around you, something in your bubble, in your or in your village or a town, and then and I think you have shown this simply by being here. Use your advantages that you have, and this is the first one. Is also what Luyolo said, is energy. Yeah, you never have more energy in your life than right now. Let me tell you, I'm 28, and I think Luyolo, you are 33. You said in the beginning, if I'm not mistaken. This is already a long way from 20. I can tell you, I can already feel the difference from being 20 or 22 or 24. And right now you are in the point of your life where you have the most energy. So use that and make some overnight shifts on your political career and go out and do something. And also use the power of understanding of technology that you have. That's the second biggest advantage, is you know how to use the digital realm. And this can be very, very practical. I give you a very practical example for that. Today, as some of you might have realized, I'm in a car because I am driven right now by my people to Brussels, coming from Cologne. And a classical politician maybe would have said, I cannot participate in this youth parliament event because I'm in a car. I'm driven from one city to another. But we know that you can, with your phone in your hand or your tablet or your laptop, you can work from everywhere on everything. So really use this technical understanding. And the third biggest recommendation that I can give you is use the power of networking understood as use the power of social media, really. Politics is still, and I think it will always be, a game of networking. That's the most important asset that you have in politics, is your network. And you, as young people, you have this tool of social media that is the perfect networking tool that you also understand way more than those who are older than you and who are already part of the system. So use the advantages of your youth for your political career, and that really deliberately. And I think that you are here, that proves that you are already doing this. So keep going. I can only agree on everything that Luyolo said before. You are the ones making the change, and you will look back in 50 years and look at the time that we are talking right now, and you might remember that good-looking MP from South Africa and that guy with the silly blonde hair from Germany who talked to you about all this stuff. And I hope you can take something from that. If you need any more recommendation, if you need help, if you need advice, you can always contact guys like us. Don't be afraid to do that, and keep going. I'm only there where I am because, and I know I sound like a silly motivational coach, but I did something for my career every day. Every day I did something, and that's how you have success. Just keep going, and you will see that you can change the world. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you for making a change, and I wish you all the best deep from my heart.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lukas and Mr. Luyolo. It was amazing interacting with you. We thank you from, we have a lot of gratitude in our hearts for you that you took out the time for talking to all these teenagers from all over the world. The World Teen Parliament was started with a simple idea. Let's give teens a little bit of power and a little bit of money, and let's see what they can do with it. Because that's what helps you understand decision making. That's what helps you understand communication, modeling, understanding how you would typically make an idea into a reality. You took out the time and you're here with us with all of these teenagers from different parts of the world. Before the session comes to an end, I would again want to go back to Mr. Lukas. We would want to hear something, a message that you would want to leave for the World Teen Parliament so that teens remember you, and even the future generations, when they look at this video, they're able to say, okay, this is what you said for the World Teen Parliament or for the teens at the World Teen Parliament.
Every democracy started at some point with people coming together to debate in something that resembled a parliament. And every single time, it took a lot of time to get there. And I believe strongly that one day we will have a world democracy. We will have a common system. And the World Teen Parliament is one of the most important tools for that, because it is a place where the future generation comes together and discuss in a parliamentary forum. So you can be assured that you yourself and everyone who is here and every speaker and also the people like Daksh organizing this, who deserve a lot of honor, are at the forefront of the democratic development of humanity as a whole, and to a global society where all voices are heard, no matter where they are. And this is historic, and I am very happy to have been a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lukas, the Honorable MP from the European Union, and a very big thank you to Mr. Luyolo, MP from South Africa. Thank you for taking out the time and being here with us for the 47th parliamentary session. Before the session comes to an end, if it is possible for you, put your both hands up in the air. We'll take a quick screenshot before the session concludes so that we can put it on all social media. All the teens, everyone who's there on the call, 3, 2, 1. If you can put your both hands up in the air. Thank you so much, everyone. This was the 47th parliamentary session of the World Teen Parliament. Signing off. Have an amazing evening or day ahead. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have an amazing evening ahead. Bye-bye.